Hi students, welcome to lesson number 26, Social Control, Part A, Concept and Agencies of Social Control. Introduction. The study of social control is an important facet of sociology. Social control is the control of society over the individual. It is a unifying factor in the study of human behavior. According to Kimball Young, American sociologist, the aims of social control are to bring about conformity, solidarity and continuity of particular group or society. Social control denotes some kind of influence which is essentially exerted by the society or community for promoting the welfare of all the individuals or group as a whole. The influence is universal and since times immemorial. The objectives of this lesson are to explain the meaning and definition of social control, understanding social conformity and social deviance, highlight the various agencies of social control. Meaning and definition of social control. Society has to make use of its mechanism to accomplish the necessary order and discipline. This mechanism is called social control. According to E.A. Ross, the individual has deep-rooted sentiments that help him to cooperate with other fellow members to work for social welfare. These sentiments are sympathy, sociability and sense of justice. But these sentiments by themselves are not enough to suppress the self-seeking impulses of the individual. As Ross defines, social control refers to the system of devices whereby society brings its members into conformity with the accepted standard of behavior. Herbert Spencer is of the view that society is a collection of group of individuals. Man lives in a society because it has a utility. Through society, he is able to preserve his identity and views. In order to preserve his identity and characteristics, he has to exercise some control for which certain rules and institutions are created. These agencies of social control are helpful for preserving the identity of the individuals and society. Social control is an influence exerted through public opinion, coercion, social suggestion, religion or any other method. The influence is exerted by the society, which means that group is better able to exercise influence over the individual than a single individual. This group may be the family, the church, the state or the trade union, etc. The effectiveness of the influence, however, depends on variable factors. Sometimes family may exercise more effective influence than the state or vice versa. Social control may be defined as any social or cultural means by which systematic and relatively consistent restraints are imposed upon individual behavior. Human beings are persuaded and motivated to behave in accordance with the traditions, patterns and value framework necessary for the smooth functioning of a group or society. Social control is established by encouraging individuals to conform and obey social norms both through formal and informal means. Conformity is the act of matching attitudes, beliefs and behaviors to group norms. Social control and socialization. Both social control and socialization are closely related to each other. Social control is a part of socialization. During the process of socialization, the process of social control also is in operation. Through socialization, social control becomes effective. In order to maintain the social order, there are definite procedures in society. These customs and procedures become a part of man's life and man gets adjusted to the society. As a matter of fact, societies depend heavily upon effective socialization to internalize social norms and values as the individual's guides and motives to action. Through socialization, societies aim to control the behavior of its members subconsciously. The various agencies of socialization like family, state, school, club, etc. are also the agencies of social control. They exercise regulatory influence over the behavior of the individual. Thus, an individual is introduced to the concept of social control through socialization. Let us now discuss the need for social control. Social control aims at bringing about conformity, solidarity and continuity of a particular group or society. Social control is needed for these reasons. Firstly, to bring the behavior of individuals and groups in tune with the established norms of society. Secondly, to bring solidarity and uniformity in the social organizations. Thirdly, to establish stability in the social relations. Fourthly, to exercise control over social tensions and conflicts. Fifthly, to provide fair and equal chances for cooperation and competition to all individuals, groups and institutions to realize their goals. Sixthly, to facilitate appreciation and rewarding of champions of social cause and take punitive actions against antisocial elements. Seventhly, bringing desired modifications in the social milieu, especially effecting required changes in the means and agencies of social control. Eighthly, social control establishes primacy of social and humanitarian values over individualistic and separatist ends. Ninthly, to provide for the protection and promotion of the interests of the weak and vulnerable sections of society. Tenthly, to forge alliance among the various groups and institutions of society. Means and agencies of social control. Different sociologists have given different opinions regarding the means and agencies of social control. 𝗂𝗍𝗏 classified the means of social control into that based upon force and based upon symbols. According to him, though physical force is indispensable in social control, yet it is not merely the force that can manage the individuals. Human societies have to rely upon symbolic devices which are more effective than force. According to him, the means of social control are rewards, praise, flattery, education, persuasion, gossip, satire, criticism, propaganda and so on. E.A. Ross has described a number of means of social control that have been employed by social groups throughout the human history to keep individuals under control. The important among them are public opinion, law, custom, religion, morality, folkways and mores. E.C. Hayes distinguished between control by sanctions and control by suggestion in imitation. By control by sanctions, he meant a system of rewards and punishments. According to him, education is the most effective means of social control. Karl Mannheim distinguished between direct and indirect means of social control. Kimball Young classified the means of social control into positive and negative means. According to him, reward is a positive means while punishment is a negative means. L.L. Bernard distinguish between conscious and unconscious means of social control. The most important unconscious means are custom, tradition and convention. The conscious means of social control are those which have been consciously developed and employed by leaders of all types. These are law, education, public opinion and coercion. Bernard also distinguished between exploitive and constructive means of social control. Exploitive means are such as punishment, reprisals, intimidation and repression. Among the constructive means are included revolution, custom, law, education, social reform and non-violent coercion. Broadly, there are two types of social control, formal and informal. In fact, the classification of social control into organized and unorganized as given by Gerwick and Moore can be termed as formal and informal. Informal social control influenced by belief, customs, traditions, criticism, public opinion, religion, etc. is exercised by society. In the primitive tribal and simple rural societies, informal social control has been more influential, while in the modern and complex societies, formal social control is more effective and visible. Let us now discuss some of the significant means and agencies of formal and informal social control. Formal means of social control. The formal social control has the sanction of state whose authority is used to regulate the human behavior. It adopts written and well-defined set of rules and regulations, lays down a formal system of punishment for those who do not conform and establish the laws, police, jails and judicial institutions for the trial and punishment. Law. Law is the most important formal means of social control. Early societies depended upon informal means of social control, but when societies grew in size and complexity, they were compelled to formulate rules and regulations which define the required types of behavior and specify the penalties to be imposed upon those who violate them. Law is a body of rules enacted by legally authorized bodies and enforced by authorized agencies. It defines clearly rights, duties as well as the punishments for their violation. In modern society, relationships are of secondary nature. Security of life and property as well as the systematic ordering of relationships make formalization of rules necessary. Law prescribes uniform norms and penalties through a social system. What were in mores and customs earlier has now been formalized into a body of law. Law prohibits certain actions for example, the Untouchability Offence Act 1955 prohibits untouchability in any form, and a person practicing untouchability is liable to punishment. Prohibition Act forbids drinking at public places. In this way, law exercises a powerful influence upon the behavior of the people in modern societies. Education. The importance of education as a means of social control is being increasingly realized. Education is a very important agency of socialization. It prepares the child for social living. It reforms the attitudes wrongly formed by the children. Education contributes in personality development and removes prejudices. It inculcates value of discipline, social cooperation, tolerance and sacrifice. It instills the qualities of honesty, fair play and a sense of right and wrong. The importance of education for creating right social attitudes among youth cannot be overlooked. State and administration. The state, as the society's overall regulative system, is the chief agency of social control. It exercises control over its members through legislations, the police, the armed forces and the prisons. Actually speaking, the emergence of secondary group is a gift of modern complicated social order. The state exercises control through rules and regulations in a more effective way. Law is the most important method of man-made social control. State is the only agency which can make and implement laws. In the words of McIver and Page, law means the code upheld by the state because of its inclusive applicability is thus guardian of society itself. State is the agency of society that exercises its social control in the most effective manner. Administration is very powerful and the most effective instrument of social control. It forces the individual to obey social control. The administration punishes the violators with the help of the police, the army, etc. Physical force or coercion exercised by the state through administration is an important means of social control. It is as ancient as society itself. It is essential for the social progress. Even these days, some societies resort to it against the deviants or those who disobey social norms. Every state has its own armed forces or police force. It is considered as a means to prevent people from indulging in antisocial activities. It also makes people obey social order. The state carries out its function by means of law, which is ultimately backed by physical force. As an important agency of social control, the state exercises its force over its people through various means such as the government law, administration, armed forces, police and the like. Informal means of social control. The informal means of social control is initiated and implemented by society. No special agency is required to create them. However, it is said that people are not afraid of informal social control. Yet, informal means of social control are very powerful, particularly in primary groups. No man wants to suffer loss of prestige. He does not want to become the target of ridicule nor socially boycotted. On the other hand, he wants praise, appreciation, honor and recognition by the society. Thus, informal means like praise, ridicule, boycott, etc. effectively control his behavior. Moreover, the child through the process of socialization learns to conform to the norms of group. A person with socialized attitudes would not do any work which is socially harmful. Thus, socialization also exercises an influence over him. Some of the important agencies and means of informal social control are family. Family is an important agency of social control. It is the first place where an individual is socialized. He learns various methods of living, behavior patterns, convention, etc. from the family. He learns customs, folkways, traditions and mores from the family. Family influenced individual directly through suggestion, persuasion, praise, blame, ridicule, criticism, etc. Through these mechanisms, family forces the individual to conform the custom, folkways and mores of the group. Neighborhood. Neighborhood is a simple and specific part of a community. It has a feeling or sentiment of local unit. there may be more than one neighborhood in a community. The neighborhood is the first community with which the individual comes into contact with. It exerts a deep influence on its members as an agency of social control. The local neighborhood reinforces or strengthens the individual family as an agency of social control. It comes only after the family in social importance. The elder members of the neighborhood or locality who are very intimate to one another keep group modes alive and enforce them into locality. The local neighborhood, like the family, exercises direct control over the behavior of the individuals through direct suggestions, persuasion, praise, blame, ridicule, criticism, etc. Summary: society has to make use of its mechanism to accomplish the necessary order and discipline. This mechanism is called social control. Social control is established by encouraging individuals to conform and obey social norms both through formal and informal means. Conformity is the act of matching attitudes, beliefs and behaviors to group norms. Social control and socialization are closely related to each other. Social control is a part of socialization. Social control aims at bringing about conformity, solidarity and continuity of a particular group or society. Different sociologists have given different opinions regarding the means and agencies of social control. Broadly, there are two types of social control: formal and informal. The formal social control has the sanction of the state, whose authority is used to regulate the human behavior. It adopts written and well defined set of rules and regulations, lays down a formal system of punishment for those who do not conform, and establish the laws, police, jails and judicial institutions for the trial and punishment. The informal means of social control grow themselves in society. No special agency is required to create them. However, it is said that people are not afraid of informal social control, yet informal means of social control are very powerful, particularly in primary groups.